The city lights burned bright against the night sky. Humans walked quickly along the wide metal streets, carrying bags, food, and small machines that glowed in their hands. It was a place full of voices, sounds, and busy life. But for one figure, the city felt cold and heavy. She was not human. Her skin was pale silver. Her eyes glowed softly in the dark. Her steps were quiet, almost too careful. She wrapped herself in an old cloth to hide her face. She carried a small bag pressed to her chest. Inside the bag was only one thing, a toy made of stone. It belonged to her child. This alien woman was a widow. Her husband had died in the war between humans and her people. She had escaped with her little child, hoping to find peace on the human colony world. But peace was hard to find when nobody wanted her. She stopped at one shop and asked for work. Her voice was soft, almost shaking. "Please, I just need a job. I can clean, I can carry, I can cook," she begged. The human owner looked at her with cold eyes. "No, we don't hire your kind," he said, his voice sharp like a blade. She walked away, her heart heavy. She thought of her child waiting in the small broken room they called home. He was hungry, sick, and weak. She needed money for food. She needed medicine, yet every door closed in her face. At another place, she saw a factory, smoke rising from the tall pipes. She asked the guard, "Please, I can work. I will do anything." The guard laughed. "Go back to your kind, alien. We don't need you." And he pushed her away. Her legs were tired, but she kept moving. The city around her looked alive, but inside she felt more and more invisible. Humans crossed the street when they saw her. Children pointed, some even threw small stones, whispering words like creature and outsider. The widow kept walking, whispering to herself, "Stay strong. For him. Stay strong. For my so." As was her child's face flashed in her mind, his big eyes full of hope. Even when he was hungry, he smiled. She could not let him down. She stopped near a bakery. The smell of bread filled the air. Her empty stomach growled. She watched humans buying food, laughing with friends. She imagined buying even one loaf, sharing it with her son. She almost stepped forward, but she saw the baker's eyes turn cold, the same rejection again. She turned away quickly. Hours passed, the night grew colder, the streets grew quieter. Her hands shook from hunger and fear. She felt like falling, but then she heard something, a voice, deep and calm. "Wait, maybe I can help." She froze, her heart racing. She turned slowly. Behind her stood a human man. Not young, not old. His clothes were simple, but his eyes looked different. Not sharp, not cruel, but curious, maybe even kind. For a moment she did not speak. She thought maybe it was a trick. Humans often tricked her kind, but his voice was steady. "You need work, don't you?" he asked. She lowered her eyes and nodded. The man looked around. Other humans stared at him. Some shook their heads. One whispered, "Don't trust her, she's dangerous." But he did not listen. His eyes stayed on the widow. "Tell me your name," he said. Her lips trembled. She had not spoken her name in a long time. She whispered, "My name is Leora." "Leora," he repeated, as if testing the sound. "I am Daniel." The silence between them felt heavy. Other humans muttered. The city lights flickered. Leora felt fear. She wanted to run, but Daniel's eyes held her there. He studied her like he was searching for something deeper, something the others could not see. Finally, he said, "I don't promise much, but maybe I have some work for you." Leora's breath caught, her heart jumped. Was this real? Was this hope? After so many doors shut in her face, after so many cruel voices, could this one human be different? She wanted to cry, but she held it back. She bowed her head, whispering, "Please, thank you. I will not disappoint you." Daniel nodded once, serious and calm. "We will see," he said. Then he turned and began walking. "Follow me." Leora hesitated, her mind full of fear, but also full of her child's face. She clutched the stone toy inside her bag, and she stepped forward, following the human into the unknown. Above them, the city lights kept burning. The streets whispered with voices of doubt. But inside Leora, a small spark of hope began to rise. She did not know it yet, but this single moment, this one human voice that said, "Wait, maybe I can help," would change her life forever. Daniel walked through the quiet streets, his steps steady, his shoulders strong. He did not look back to see if Leora was following, but he already knew she was there. Her soft footsteps were different from human steps, lighter, careful, almost like she was afraid of leaving a trace. Leora clutched her old bag tightly, her silver eyes scanning every corner. She wondered why this man, out of all the humans she had met, had not pushed her away. Was it pity? Was it curiosity? Or was it something else? She did not know, but she was desperate enough to follow. They passed through a marketplace where humans were closing their shops. Some saw her walking behind him and whispered, "Why is he letting that alien follow him?" Others shook their heads in disgust. "He will regret this," one man muttered loudly. Leora kept her head low. She had felt those stares before, sharp and cutting like knives. But walking behind Daniel gave her a strange feeling of safety, as if his presence was a shield, weak maybe, but still a shield. Finally, Daniel stopped in front of a small workshop. The building was old, metal walls scratched and stained. The sign above was half broken, but the smell of oil and wood filled the air. It was not rich, not grand, but it looked like a place where hands worked hard. "This is mine," Daniel said simply. Opening the door, he stepped inside. Leora followed slowly. Inside, she saw tables full of tools, gears, broken machines, and half-finished chairs. Everything looked messy but alive. Daniel lit a lamp. The warm glow filled the room. He turned to her, his eyes calm. "You said you can work. What can you do?" Leora's voice shook. "I can clean, I can lift, I can cook. I learn fast." She paused, her fingers twisting the cloth of her bag. I just need enough to feed my child." Daniel studied her face, the silver lines under her eyes, the tired shape of her shoulders. He had seen desperate humans before, but this was different. This was someone who carried a heavier weight. "You have a child," he said slowly. "Where is he now?" Her voice dropped even softer. "At home, waiting, hungry," she whispered, her chest tightening. She hated admitting her weakness, but it was the truth. For a moment, Daniel said nothing. He picked up a tool, turning it in his hands. Then he looked at her again. "I cannot pay much. I barely make enough for myself, but I can give you small work, cleaning this place, helping with repairs, carrying supplies." Leora's breath caught, her heart leapt. This was not just pity. This was real work. Her knees almost gave out, but she stood tall. Yes, I will do it. I will not complain. I will not fail," she said quickly, almost too quickly. But Daniel raised his hand, stopping her words. "Listen carefully. If you want to work here, there are rules." Her chest tightened, fear creeping back. "Rules," she whispered. "Yes," he said firmly. "First, you keep quiet about where you are from. Do not talk about your people. Do not speak of the war. Many here lost family to it. They will not forgive easily." She nodded, her throat dry. "I understand." "Second," Daniel continued, "you will obey orders. If I say stop, you stop. If I say go, you go. There can be no mistakes. Mistakes can bring trouble, and trouble can bring danger, not only to you, but to me as well." Again she nodded. "I promise, no mistakes." Daniel looked at her for a long moment as if searching her soul. Then he said, "Third, you must never bring anyone else here. Not your people, not strangers. This workshop is the only thing I have. If it is ruined, I have nothing left." Leora's hands shook, but she pressed them to her chest. "I swear, I will protect this place as if it is my own." The lamp flickered. Shadows stretched across the walls. The silence between them grew heavy. Daniel finally set the tool down. "Fine, you start tomorrow." Her knees almost buckled with relief. Her lips trembled. She wanted to fall and thank him, but she only bowed her head, whispering, Thank you. But outside the workshop, not all was quiet. A shadow moved in the darkness. One of the humans from the marketplace had followed them, his eyes narrow, his lips curled. He had seen Leora enter the workshop, and he did not like it. He whispered to himself, "Daniel has lost his mind, helping one of them. This will not end well." And he turned, disappearing into the night. Inside, Leora did not know that already her presence had stirred whispers. Already some humans were preparing to watch, and maybe even to strike. For now, she only felt a fragile seed of hope growing inside her heart. She clutched her bag tighter, thinking of her child, imagining his face when she brought food home, imagining him smiling. But the night was not finished with her, and the city had long memories. Tomorrow would not be simple. And deep inside, even Daniel knew, this was not just a small offer of work. It was the start of something that would change both their lives forever. The next morning, the sky above the human city was gray, clouds heavy with smoke from the factories. People rushed to work carrying tools and food. The streets were alive, but inside Daniel's workshop, a different silence waited. Leora stood at the doorway, her thin hands clutching her old bag, her silver eyes lowered, her heart beating fast. This was her first day, her first chance, she whispered to herself. Do not fail. Do not fail. And then she stepped inside. Daniel was already there, fixing a broken machine with steady hands. He glanced at her only once and then pointed. The floor, clean it. Tools go back to the shelf. Broken parts stay on the table. Don't mix them. His voice was firm but not cruel. She nodded quickly, moving to the corner. She found a broom made of wires and began sweeping. Dust rose in the air. Her fingers ached, but she did not stop. She worked without sound, every move careful, every breath quiet. The hours passed. Daniel worked on one side, Leora on the other. The workshop filled with the sound of tools, the scrape of metal, the sweep of the broom. She never spoke. Not a single word. At midday, Daniel placed a small piece of bread on the table. Without looking at her, he muttered, "Eat." For a moment she froze. Her stomach growled, but she hesitated. Finally she took the bread with shaking hands, whispering, "Thank you." She ate slowly, every bite feeling like gold. When the day ended, Daniel said only, "Come back tomorrow," and she bowed her head, walking out into the night. This became her life. Every day she returned, cleaning, lifting, carrying, working in silence. Daniel gave her simple food, sometimes bread, sometimes soup, always plain but enough. But the humans outside did not stay silent. Whispers grew in the marketplace. "That alien works for Daniel," some said. "He is a fool. He will regret it." Others muttered, "She is dangerous. Wait and see." The words spread like smoke. Inside the workshop, Leora tried to ignore it. She focused on her tasks, her hands moving faster each day, her body stronger than humans had guessed. She could carry heavy boxes alone. She could hold tools steady without shaking. Daniel noticed, but said nothing. One evening, as the sun dipped low, a storm rolled across the sky. Rain crashed on the metal roofs. Daniel worked on a broken generator, sparks flying. He cursed under his breath. "This piece won't fit. I need another hand." Without a word, Leora stepped forward. Her silver fingers touched the machine, and then something strange happened. A soft glow spread from her hand. The broken part shifted slightly, as if drawn into place. The generator hummed, alive again. Daniel froze, his eyes wide. "What did you just do?" His voice was sharp, but not angry, more shocked. Leora's face turned pale. She pulled her hand back. I am sorry. I should not have." Her voice trembled. She feared this moment, the moment her secret slipped. Daniel stared at the machine, then at her. "That was not human work, was it?" Her lips pressed tight. Finally she whispered, "No, it is something from my people. We can move small things with energy, not much, but enough." Her eyes filled with fear. "Please, do not tell anyone. If they know, they will kill me." For a long moment, silence filled the workshop. The rain outside beat against the roof. Daniel looked at her with hard eyes. Then he sighed, setting the tool down. "I should send you away," he said slowly. "But if I do, you and your child will starve." Her knees bent. She almost fell, her voice desperate. "Please, I beg you, I will never use Kai. But again, I will hide it. Just let me stay." Daniel rubbed his forehead, the weight of his choice heavy. Finally he muttered, "You stay, but you keep this hidden. No one can see. Do you understand?" "Yes, I swear, no one will know," she whispered, tears slipping from her silver eyes. From that day forward, Leora worked even harder, more silent than before. She kept her alien gift locked deep inside, using only her hands, never her energy. She feared the humans' eyes, she feared their anger. But secrets are heavy, and secrets have a way of breaking free. One evening, as she left the workshop with her small bag of bread, she felt something strange, footsteps behind her, slow, steady, following her through the narrow streets. She turned once but saw only shadows. Her heart pounded. She quickened her steps, clutching the bag close, the toy stone inside pressing against her chest. She thought of her child waiting. She thought of the promise she made to Daniel. The footsteps grew closer, echoing in the dark. Someone was watching her, someone who had seen too much. The silent worker was no longer invisible. The city had begun to notice her, and danger was walking in her shadow. The night air was sharp, the streets wet from the earlier storm. Leora walked quickly, her thin body wrapped in a worn cloth, her bag pressed against her chest. She could still hear the faint echo of footsteps behind her, though when she turned, the shadows showed nothing. Her heart beat faster, but she kept walking. By the time she reached her small home, her child was waiting by the cracked window, his eyes bright, though his face was pale from hunger. "Mama," he whispered, rushing to her. Leora knelt down, giving him the piece of bread she had earned. He ate with small bites, smiling, though his ribs showed through his thin shirt. She stroked his hair gently, whispering, "We will be safe. I have work now." Yet her words trembled, because she felt eyes on her even here, eyes hidden in the darkness. The next morning, Leora returned to Daniel's workshop, but she felt heavier, her secret pressed on her like a stone. When she stepped inside, Daniel was already working, hammering a bent piece of metal into shape. He looked up once, his eyes sharp. "You look tired," he said. "I did not sleep much," she whispered, her hands moving to the broom automatically, sweeping the dusty floor. Daniel set down his hammer, his gaze steady on her. "I saw what you did yesterday," he said quietly. Her heart froze, her hands stilled, the broom slipped from her grasp. I did not mean to. It was a mistake," she stammered. He walked closer, his boots heavy against the floor. You moved the part without touching it. I am not blind. That was no mistake. His voice was low but firm. Lyora's breath shook. Her eyes filled with fear. If you tell anyone, they will not let me live. Please, I beg you, Daniel, my son. He needs me. Her voice cracked. Daniel studied her, the lines of pain etched on her face, the way her hands trembled as she clutched her bag. Finally, he asked, why hide it? Why live in the shadows if you have such power? Tears slid down her silver cheeks. Because power is the reason my husband is dead. It is the reason humans hate us. During the war, my people used their gifts to fight. They thought they could win, but they lost. My husband was a soldier. He never came home. And now when humans see my kind, they only remember the enemy, not the mothers, not the children. Daniel's eyes softened, though his jaw tightened. So you ran, he said. I had no choice, she whispered. I carried my son through fire and dust, through ruined fields, through space, just to keep him alive. I do not want to fight. I only want to work, to feed him, to keep him safe. The silence in the workshop grew heavy. Daniel turned away, picking up a tool, but his hands slowed, his mind deep. In thought, he had lost family in the war too. He had sworn never to trust her kind, yet here she stood, not an enemy, not a soldier, but a mother, desperate and broken. Finally he spoke. You should have told me sooner. Her lips trembled. Would you have given me work if I had? She asked. He paused, then shook his head slightly. No, I would not. Leora lowered her gaze, her chest tightening. Then I was right to hide it, she whispered. Daniel sighed, rubbing his forehead. Maybe, but secrets are dangerous. Already people are talking. I heard whispers at the marketplace. They are watching you. If they see what I saw, they will not stop at whispers. Her body shook, fear crawling through her. What should I do? She asked. For now, nothing, Daniel said, his voice steady again. You keep working, keep silent, and trust that I will not speak. She looked at him with wide eyes. Why? Why would you protect me? He met her gaze, his voice low. Because I believe not all of you are monsters, and maybe, just maybe, you deserve a chance. Her heart swelled with gratitude, but also confusion. She had never heard those words from a human before. She wanted to believe him, but doubt still lingered. The day passed with heavy silence, both of them working side by side, but Daniel's eyes often flicked to her hands, as if remembering the glow, as if wondering if he had made a mistake. As the sun set, Leora gathered her bag, preparing to leave. Daniel spoke again. Be careful tonight. I feel trouble is close. She nodded, her steps slow as she left the workshop, the streets darker than usual, the shadows thicker, and then she saw it, painted across the wall of a nearby building, rough letters scrawled with red paint. No aliens allowed. The words screamed from the stone like a warning. Leora's breath caught. Her heart thundered. She realized the whispers had already grown into anger. Someone had marked the city, and she was the target. She clutched her bag tightly, whispering to herself, for him, stay strong. For my son, stay strong. But deep inside she knew her secret would not stay hidden much longer. The city was restless, whispers turned to louder voices, and the red words painted on the wall were only the beginning. Humans moved through the streets with suspicion in their eyes. Some pointed toward Daniel's workshop, others crossed the street when Leora passed. The air felt heavier every day. Inside the workshop, Daniel worked as always, hammering, fixing, repairing, but his jaw was tight, his shoulders tense. He knew the rumors were spreading fast. He knew the people outside were waiting for one mistake, one reason to strike. Leora swept the floor quietly, her head lowered, her heart full of fear. She felt every stare, every murmur outside. Even when she was inside, her hands shook sometimes, but she never stopped working, because work meant food, and food meant her son could live. Her child was her only light. Every evening she returned to the small home where he waited, his smile weak but full of love. She told him, I am working, I am earning. We will survive, though her voice always carried a tremble. One night, Daniel locked the workshop door earlier than usual, his eyes dark with worry. They are talking about you in the tavern, he said. Some men say you should not be here. Others say they will deal with you themselves. Leora's breath caught, her silver eyes wide. Deal with me, she whispered, fear gripping her chest. Daniel nodded, his face hard. I told them nothing, but I cannot stop their tongues. You must be careful. Every step you take is being watched. Leora lowered her gaze, her voice breaking. I do not want trouble. I only want to live, to care for my son. Daniel studied her face, then he sighed. I know, but the city does not care about what you want. They only see the war. They only see the enemy. The next day, the tension grew worse. As Leora walked to the workshop, children pointed at her, throwing stones that bounced off the road. Alien, they shouted, go home. Their parents did not stop them. Some even nodded in approval. She kept walking, her body straight though her heart shook. She whispered to herself, do not cry, do not break. And when she stepped into the workshop, she breathed in relief because at least here she could work. But even inside, safety was not full. That evening as she was leaving, she noticed a shadow near the door, a man leaning against the wall, his arms crossed, his eyes narrow. He said nothing as she passed, but his gaze followed her all the way down the street. At home, her son asked, Mama, why are people angry? His small voice trembling. She knelt beside him, holding his face in her hands. Because they do not know us. They only fear what they do not understand. But you must not be afraid. I will protect you. Still, her heart ached because she knew protection was slipping away. Days turned to weeks, and the whispers became threats. Someone threw a rock through the workshop window, shattering glass across the floor. Daniel cursed, picking up the pieces, his face dark with rage. They want to scare us, he muttered, but I will not let them push me. Leora helped clean the shards, her hands careful, her voice soft. Maybe I should leave. Maybe if I go, they will stop. Daniel turned to her, his eyes sharp. No, if you leave now, they will only feel stronger. They will find another to hate, another to break. You have as much right to live as anyone. Her heart warmed at his words, but fear still grew inside her. One evening, the storm finally broke. Daniel had sent Leora to carry supplies from the storage house at the edge of the city. The streets were quiet, too quiet, as she walked with the heavy box in her arms. She felt the air shift. From the shadows, 3 men stepped out, their faces hard, their eyes filled with hate. One held a stick, another a piece of chain, the third spat on the ground. So you are the alien everyone talks about, he said, his voice dripping with disgust. Leora's breath caught, she held the box tighter. I do not want trouble, she whispered. Then you should not have come here, the man with the chain growled. Our city is not for your kind. Her heart raced. She looked around, but the street was empty. No one to help, no one to see. The man with the stick stepped closer, swinging it lightly in his hand. We heard you work for Daniel, making him weak, making him trust you. But we will end that tonight. Fear burned in her chest, but behind that fear was the memory of her son, waiting, hungry, needing her. She whispered to herself, stay strong for him. When the first man raised his stick, Leora moved quickly, dodging to the side, the box slipping from her arms and crashing to the ground, supplies scattering across the street. The men laughed, circling her, their shadows tall under the street lamps. Leora backed away slowly, her heart thundering, her hands shaking. She could not use her gift, not here, not in front of them. If they saw, her secret would be out. The whole city would know. But the men moved closer, their voices sharp, their eyes full of cruelty. In that moment, Leora realized something. She could no longer hide forever. Danger was here, danger was real, and if she did nothing, her child would lose her. The night closed in, the men raised their weapons, and Leora stood trembling in the middle of the street, torn between fear and survival. And in the darkness, someone else watched from the shadows, unseen, waiting to see what she would do. The 3 men circled Leora in the dark street, their eyes glowing with anger, their sticks and chains ready to strike. The broken box and scattered supplies lay at her feet. Her heart pounded like a drum. Her mind screamed, but she whispered to herself, stay strong for him. The first man swung his stick. It missed her head by inches, smashing against the wall with a loud crack. She stumbled back, clutching the toy stone hidden in her bag. Fear tightened her throat, but she would not fall. Fight back, one of them shouted, laughing. Show us what you really are. They wanted her to use her alien gift. They wanted proof so they could destroy her, but she stayed silent, her body trembling, refusing to give them the satisfaction. Suddenly a voice cut through the night. Enough! Daniel stepped out from the shadows, his eyes hard, his hands clenched into fists. He walked forward slowly, his presence steady. Leave her alone. The men sneered. Stay out of this, Daniel. You're protecting filth. You'll regret it. One of them spat. Daniel's voice was calm but strong. She is not your enemy. She is just trying to live. The men laughed cruelly. You've gone soft siding with them, and they moved toward him. But Daniel did not back away. He stood like stone. Leora's breath shook, her fear mixed with shock. No one had ever defended her like this, not since her husband, before the men could strike. A sudden sound split the air, a deep rumble. The ground trembled beneath their feet, then a bright flash sparked in the distance. An explosion from the factory near the river. Smoke and fire burst into the sky. People screamed in the distance. Bells rang across the city. The three men turned, their faces pale. "The factory! It's burning!" one shouted. Without thinking, they dropped their weapons and ran toward the flames, their anger forgotten, the street emptying around them. Daniel turned to Leora, his eyes serious. "Come," he said quickly. "We must go." Together they ran through the streets, following the noise. When they reached the factory, chaos filled the night. Humans shouted, workers trapped inside cried for help. The heavy gates had collapsed, blocking the exit. Daniel's face turned grim. "If the fire spreads, the whole block will burn," he muttered. Leora's chest tightened. She saw women screaming for their husbands, children crying for their fathers, men trying to lift the broken gates but failing. The metal was too heavy. She stepped forward without thinking, her heart racing, her mind screaming against the promise she made to hide her gift, but she could not watch them die. Daniel grabbed her arm, his voice sharp. "Don't. They'll see." Her silver eyes met his, fierce and full of pain. "Let them see. I cannot stand by while they burn," she said. Before he could stop her, she moved, raising her hands toward the collapsed gate. Her fingers trembled as she called the energy inside her. A soft glow spread from her palms. The heavy metal shook. The humans gasped. With a cry, she pushed, her power flowing through her body. The gate lifted slowly, inch by inch, her arms shaking from the effort, but the metal obeyed. "Go! Run!" she shouted, her voice strong, and the trapped workers scrambled out, coughing and crying. One man stopped, staring at her glowing hands, fear and awe in his eyes. "She's one of them," he whispered, but another man pulled him. "She just saved us! Move!" And they ran. The fire roared behind her, the heat burning her skin, but she held the gate high until the last worker escaped. Then she let it crash down with a thunderous sound, falling to her knees, exhausted. Daniel rushed to her side, pulling her away as the factory walls collapsed, sparks flying into the sky. When the fire was finally under control, a crowd gathered, their eyes fixed on Leora, whispers spreading like wild wind. Some voices angry. "She used alien power," others softer. "She saved them. She saved all of them." Leora stood weakly, her chest heaving. She held Daniel's arm to keep from falling, her eyes lowered. She feared what would come next. Daniel faced the crowd, his voice firm. "You all saw. Without her, you would be mourning your families. Without her courage, more lives would be lost. Is this the enemy you fear? Is this the monster you hate?" The crowd fell silent, torn between fear and gratitude. Some lowered their eyes, ashamed. Others clenched their fists, still unwilling to accept her. But one thing was clear. The secret was gone. The city now knew what Leora was. That night, as Daniel led her home, she whispered, "I have doomed us both." He shook his head, his jaw set. "No, you saved them, and tomorrow they will have to choose whether to live with their hate or face the truth." Leora clutched her bag against her chest, thinking of her son, thinking of the fire, thinking of the eyes that now followed her everywhere. The test was over, but the real battle was just beginning. The morning after the fire, the city was not the same. Smoke still hung in the air. Workers limped through the streets with bandages on their arms. Families wept with relief that their loved ones were alive. But behind every thankful tear was another shadow. Whispers of fear, whispers of anger, whispers of the alien who had lifted the gates with glowing hands. Leora walked slowly through the marketplace, her child holding her hand, heads turned as she passed, some eyes filled with gratitude, others burning with suspicion. She heard voices on both sides. "She saved my brother," one man whispered. "Without her, he would be dead." But another voice hissed, "She is dangerous. Her kind should never be trusted." Her child squeezed her hand tighter, his small voice soft. "Mama, why are they so tearing?" Leora knelt down, brushing his hair back gently. "Because they have not decided yet. Some see me as hope, some see me as fear. But no matter what they see, you are the reason I stand." At the workshop, Daniel was waiting, his arms crossed, his face tired but steady. When Leora stepped inside, he nodded. "You did more than I ever expected," he said quietly. "You saved them, and now the city cannot pretend you are invisible." Her voice trembled. "But now they all know. They will come for me." Daniel's eyes narrowed. "Maybe, but not all of them. Some saw the truth last night. Some saw that courage has no race, no species." Still, the danger was real. Later that day, a crowd gathered outside the workshop, voices rising, some shouting for her to leave, others arguing back, saying she deserved to stay. The noise filled the streets, anger and gratitude clashing together like fire and water. Daniel stepped outside, his voice booming. "Listen." The crowd hushed, his eyes swept across them. "You all saw with your own eyes, when the factory burned, when your families were trapped, no soldier, No guard, no leader saved them. It was her, the one you call enemy. She risked her life while you only watched. Some lowered their heads in shame, others muttered still. But she is not human, someone shouted. Daniel's jaw tightened. And what are humans worth if they cannot see bravery when it stands before them? Are we so blind that we hate the very hand that saved us? The words struck deep. The crowd shifted uneasily, some nodding slowly, others frowning. Leora stepped forward then, her hands trembling, her voice soft but clear. I never asked to be your enemy. I never came to fight. I came only to feed my child, to live quietly, to survive. If you want me gone, I will go. But know this, I will leave with no hate in my heart, only sorrow that you could not see me for who I am. Her words cut through the noise. Silence fell over the street. Her silver eyes shone with tears, and in that silence, a small voice broke through. She saved my father, a young boy. Cried, pushing through the crowd, his arm wrapped in bandages. He looked at Leora with wide eyes. Please don't make her leave. The boy's mother stepped forward too, her face pale but strong. He is alive because of her, she said firmly. I saw it. She held the gate with her own hands. No one else could. No one else would. The crowd wavered, the line between hate and gratitude bending. Finally, an older man spoke, his voice weary. Maybe we have been wrong. Maybe one alien mother is not the monster we feared. Slowly, heads began to nod. Voices softened. The anger faded into uneasy silence. Not full acceptance, not yet, but the beginning of something new. Daniel looked at Leora, a small smile in his tired eyes. You see, the truth always fights its way out. Her chest filled with relief. Though fear still lingered, she whispered, Thank you for standing with me, even when it was dangerous. He shook his head. No, thank you for proving that kindness can survive even in the darkest places. That evening, as the sun set over the city, Leora walked home with her son, their steps lighter than before. She carried food in her bag, not just bread, but fruit and soup, gifts from those she had saved. Her child looked up at her, smiling for the first time in many months. Mama, are we safe now? She kissed his forehead, whispering, Safer than yesterday, my son, safer than yesterday. The city was not perfect, danger was not gone, but a seed of change had been planted, and in that seed grew a fragile hope. For Leora, the poor alien widow mother, this was not the end of her story. It was the beginning of a new one. And sometimes, the bravest heroes are not the strongest soldiers or the richest leaders. Sometimes the bravest heroes are simply the ones no one wanted at first. The ones who kept walking even when every door was closed. The ones who refused to give up. In the heart of the human city, under the heavy sky, a new chapter had begun. Not just for her, but for everyone who had seen the truth.